Hi folks, this is Keith, and this is take Quattro on the 7036. This is the Silvertone 7036. Just going to show you. And it's playing good. I'm really impressed with this thing. That's the radio net, Silvertone radio net. I haven't strung this. I'm just kind of keeping this out of the way of the dial stream so far. What happens is,
and a guy that played with him and knows him well, went to Duke, Carlos Boozer.
There you go.
Cavs, Jazz, Bulls,
that would be on there. I cleaned this all completely up. This was covered in dirt, oil, nicotine stains, you name it. So I went ahead and cleaned everything up and made sure that I got it all nice looking. Cleaned this thing up some too. Interesting, and this radio station is weak, basically, just so you know. Alright, I just kind of wanted to show it to you. Let me turn this off, because you can't hear with that on. Here's my isolation transformer, turning that off, plus my Variac. I'll show you something else interesting on here after we get going. Clean this up. There was a short in there, had to fix the short. Alright, just for fun, red clip, green clip. Now, just so you can see, they are not connected to anything exciting. What they're connected to is the solar, and I was just using this as an aerial. So here, I'll show you. They're connected to the solar. Solar is not on. Nothing is on. Don't need it. I was just using the wires kind of as an aerial so that I had a little bit of an aerial, and that was all. This is the Hickok 277X. There's the clip leads. They're over there. I kind of keep them covered up. I was amazed at this morning. I was just turning stuff on in case I needed it, in case I was going to have to do an alignment. And there was a really interesting thing that happened. And I've already done the RF alignment, and I just kind of was looking, maybe touching the IF. And the RF stuff was virtually right on. I mean, the thing was just dead center. And you may say, well, how in the world do you know that the thing was dead center? Well, we have this handy dandy little good boy right here, digital counter. And so I can, you know, get him set up to, you know, 1,000. And then I can check it on here with this, and you know, I can make sure that my tuner is set right where I need it to be. I have several things to show you today that's kind of interesting. So the position of the dial pointer for this, for the initial RF, is this should be at 540 kilocycles, and then the generator frequency is 455 kc. Well, I can set the generator to 540, right, and match it on here, and then I know this is set to 540, and then I can set the generator to 455 and adjust it up here and make sure that it's absolutely perfectly on 455. So anyway, I got that all set up and I got it all done. And I think John once said that that was the most boring part of anything, was the RF and the IF. So I think he did a video on it to show it, but I did not want to bore you with that. Had some interesting problems, static and different things popping, and so got a new 6J5, actually got 4 new 6J5s, got a NOS, what is this, I forget, This is 6 SK7. 6 SK7 tongue saw. Kind of a neat. And I tested everything, and I took them in and I tried everything out, and you know, what's the best one, which one fits the best, what one does the best job. I have a Jackson 648. Here, let me pull it out. Down here, it's kind of my go-to tube tester. Yeah, it's not in the greatest of shape, but there you go. Don't want to drop the lid. But that's my Jackson 648. Now the cool thing on a Jackson 648 is that little bad boy right there. So that's a neon test lamp, and that is the shorts, and you can set the shorts tester so that you can test K for cathode, P for plate, and then grid 1, grid 2. But it's almost like a capacitor bridge, because that's a neon lamp, and the neon lamp lights. And there's actually 2 neon lamps in there, so you get a different lighting structure for the grid 1, grid 2. Someday I'll show you about that bad boy. It's really neat. I mean, so you can check your tubes, and I found a lot of tubes that test in the good zone, and they're testing, you know, up at the 100, 110, even 120. But then when you put them on the leakage test, the K for cathode leakage test, you know, all of a sudden that light's blinking or steady, and you get a massive amount of leakage on the plate or the cathode. Tube really doesn't work well. I actually have, here, let me shut this, kind of a weaker tube in there right now. I love this thing. This Jackson 648 is just a cool. So it's called a dynamic tube tester. There's a lifeline indicator. You can pop it and actually get pretty close, you know, on line control. You've got line control for your voltage inside the house or outside. You can set it to get pretty close. It's a neat tube tester. Anyway, I thought I would show you that, because that is something that I actually like to use a lot. I have an old NRI in there too, tube tester, that I use a lot too. I like it, especially on the older tubes. Okay, so you kind of get the idea of what's been going on. Clean this all up, got it good, fixed the speaker, got the tears put back together. Everything's working well on that. Got this all cleaned up. Didn't want to do much on here because I'm not sure if I did some cleaning that I wouldn't have to rub this all off. So one thing that I was having a problem with, this was the sits like that. It's the plastic cover. Well, the plastic cover was yellowed, and see the outer edges, it was yellowed really badly, especially in the center of it. Well, I tried a little trick, and I had heard that this little trick worked, but I wasn't sure. I may have to do a little more. We all know that you can put something like that in hydrogen peroxide and set it out in the sun, and it will take the yellowing off. Hydrogen peroxide works great. In fact, stronger solution like a 12% works even better. 3%, like you can get at the drugstore, will take the yellowing out of the plastic, but it has to sit for 6 hours, 7 hours. I mean, it takes a long time. So anyway, off. I read it on the internet. Insect repellent, off with DEET. Deep Woods is even better. Spray it on and use a cotton towel. It has to be cotton. And this is just an old towel. But Deep Woods off. And my buddy that was showing it to me said I could explain the chemistry to you, but then I'd have to kill you. So apparently there's some kind of chemical reaction between the off and the cotton and the yellowing, and it actually works really well on headlights too. And I've tried it on 2 or 3 different faded, discoloration on headlights, and it works very well. Actually takes a lot of it off. It doesn't last as long, and peroxide will actually take that yellow color out of there, and it will actually fix it. Anyway, I wanted to show you this. So alright, we're going to kick our isolation transform back on, turn my variac up, kick this on, turn this on, get it rolling, get it playing. This is just a random station. It's nothing exciting, some sports thing. Takes a second. There we go. And the radio's working fine. I mean, it does a good job. Anyway, Hickok. I showed you how this was hooked up and you're still going, why did you show me that? Alright. I was really surprised at, this is just some coils, right? Alright. Check this out.
I don't know if it is, but you gave me video. So at least that's a good starting point for the UFO argument, not like a guy running out, I swear it ate my goat. It was a big flying saucer. Like, you gotta give me something, Christy.
Hear it?
Big markets, stars went always, extend series.
So this is set to B channel. B channel is about 4. It's actually set on 455. So just for fun. And the Hickok's not turned up, but do you hear it?
Real sports in mid-June.
Colin Kaepernick says he is
I
going
mean,
to get
I thought that was
contract
cool.
because improving his vision
Of course, I know all you
and
radio guys are going,
That's
idiot, they all do that. But
Colin Kaepernick
I thought it was neat for me to hear that that actually is working. And it's not hooked up to the Hickok, it's just picking it up.
My wife got laser.
Okay,
I'm not
so
a big
I'm going to turn the
fan of,
Hickok off.
Surgery with my eyes.
I am such a wimp and such
There
a
it
baby.
goes.
Like, they have to use a baby needle when I have my blood drawn, but I have
Anyway,
my-
fun.
and it-
Alright, here's the bottom of the Silvertone 7036. Anytime I wanted to actually know anything, I would actually come over and consult, because this thing has a parts list. And I couldn't find the parts list on the internet. Need to make sure I take really good pictures of that and get it put up so everybody's got it. But that's the parts list on the 7036. Okay, so this piece goes right there. I have to glue that back in. Okay. This is the crossbar. It is not glued in right now, but that's where it fits, and that's what it looks like. Now my brother-in-law, who's a dentist, Bob White, yeah, that's his name, Dr. Robert White. He is a professional woodworker. I mean, he does stained glass woodworking. He's an amazing woodworker. He told me that these old 40s radio sets, they used some kind of a horse derivative glue, and it was water-based. And he said, for example, this. Here, let me show you this. This is the one of my old Silvertones. I can't think of the number on it. See this? Bent up and bent up. And I looked at Bob and I said, okay, woodworker. And he said, oh, that one's easy. Just lay some boards across here and put some C-clamps on there and put wet washcloths on underneath the boards. And he said, just start cranking down the C-clamp, like a turn a day. Do it very slowly. And he said, keep, wet washcloths on here. And he said that glue will dissolve and it will flatten right out. So we're going to try that at some point too when we're working on this one. Love this Silvertone. This is one of my favorites, but I'm kind of saving it for a later date. This is the grill cloth that I bought off eBay. and I'm going to cut it, get it put in. We're getting close to being done with this. Maybe one more video and we should be just kind of showing off. This is the, what it looks like on the inside. Got to do a little bit of gluing. Nothing exciting. Everything's coming along pretty well. As you can tell, it's working fine. And that is not a particularly strong station, by the way. That's a fairly weak AM station that I just used to check it with. Everything's going fine. I thought that was kind of fun with the Hickok 277X. For me, that's neat. Those kind of things are neat. Let's see, what else do you need to know? Sorry about all the ums. John was asking me the other day about... Oh, I was asking John a couple of questions. And, you know, I said, man, I'm getting some static out of this tube, you know, the 6J5. I'm not sure it's a tube, and I'm not sure, you know, and John's sage advice, which was really good. Joe Ardenine, you know John. He said, replace the tube. Oh, okay. So I went out and got a couple of tubes, and then I got some more tubes just to try it out. And found one. You know, tubes do make a difference. I had to put them in and out and turn the radio on and see which was the strongest, which worked the best with this particular setup. And the one that's in there seems to be doing a really great job. So radio's cleaned up. I didn't want to do too much on this. I did some light, very, very, very ultra fine sanding and some, but I'm going to leave that alone basically. I cleaned up all of the connectors down there. They were just, this was one big dirt pile, so I cleaned that all out. Anyway, everything's cleaned up, everything's set. It's ready to put back together. A little bit of gluing. I think we should be in pretty good shape. So I didn't want to make this too long of a video. I'm sorry, it's probably gone on long enough. Just as a teaser, the next project, and I'm really looking forward to this. And I said I wasn't gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it. Okay, that bad boy right there is a Majestic 40, and they're supposedly Leviathans. And I mean, just completely difficult. Things are soldered onto both cases. To get it apart, you have to unsolder wires and mark things. I actually have the original service manual for the Majestic 40 that I found on the internet, and we're gonna start. I'm gonna try and do a systematic set of videos on that thing. And right now, just so you know, it has no tubes. This thing came from New York City. So, and they weren't too great about the shipping, so we will have to do some cabinet work and repairs, and insides are a little bit. I've just got my camera case set on there. And I'll flip it around a little bit. It's always a little scary because I think we have black widows living in there that I'm going to have to get rid of. There we go. So you can kind of see it. It's got some interesting. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a Majestic 20. Ooh, should be fun. Look at all those things. Holy nightmare. There's an antenna. I mean, they do mark the sockets, which is nice. I did order, so that's a Majestic 20. Wow. Not a 40. So I do not have the service manual, so we're going to has some fun seeing if we can get the service manual. Anyway, that's going to be quite the treat. If you can get it back together, this thing is a TRF. It's actually a push-pull. It's got a push-pull amplifier, but it's got some interesting design challenges in there. So we're going to start some interesting video. That should be an interesting project. Now, I am not promising that that thing's going to work. I don't know. It may be a goner, but we'll start with the whole, test it and see if everything's in coils and everything works on there. But anyway, that's our next one. That's what we're going to start on, because that looks like fun to me, so I'm going to try it. All right.